promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar and Bamako, 7 p.m. in Lagos. Good evening and welcome to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM in Dakar and around the world at wadr.org. First, the headline stories. Mali's former Prime Minister Mara called for national unity in his first public message since his release from prison on Saturday. Authorities in Senegal intercept over 170 irregular migrants. Gambia and Gabon sign a multi-sectoral agreement as President Guema wraps his state's visit.
Je profite de cette visite officielle.
I would like to seize the opportunity of this state visit in a bid to strengthen the bilateral relations between our two states.
ECOWAS releases over $200,000 to support victims of recent flooding in Ghana. Please stay tuned for the details of these stories and more.
On the news, this is Veronique Joy.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. We begin in Mali, and former Prime Minister Moussa Mara has spoken publicly for the first time since his release from prison. Mara spent 1 year behind bars after expressing support on social media for detained politicians and civil society activists. He was convicted on charges of undermining the credibility of the state. In a video posted on his social media platforms, the former Prime Minister called for greater inclusivity, national unity and reconciliation among Malians. For more details, let's join Augustine Bilkoli.
The release of former Malian Prime Minister Moussa Mara has been widely welcomed by the Malian public and his supporters. Since leaving prison on Saturday, many well-wishers have visited him at his home in Bamako. In his first public remarks after spending a year behind bars, Mara addressed the Malian people from his living room, delivering a message of gratitude and hope. Concluding his statement, the former Prime Minister expressed concern for his lawyer, veteran politician Mutanga Tall, who was reportedly arrested at his home by armed masked men believed to be members of Mali state security. His family says they have had no contact with him since his arrest. Although Mali's ruling military authorities dissolved all political parties in May 2025, Moussa Mara did not refer to his political future during his address.
That was Augustine Bilkoli with that report. The Gambia and Gabon have entered a new era of bilateral relations following the signing of several landmark cooperation agreements during the state visit of Gabonese President Brice Oligui Nguema. The agreement, signed after bilateral talks with President Adama Barrow at State House in Banjul, are expected to strengthen cooperation and collaboration in trade, investment, agriculture, education, health, infrastructure, tourism, and diplomacy, while reinforcing the long-standing friendship between the two African countries. WADR's Rose Samara Kate has more from Banjul.
President Adama Barrow welcomes President Brice Oligui Nguema to State House, where the two heads of state held bilateral discussions aimed at expanding cooperation and exploring new opportunities for economic growth and sustainable development. Following the talks, both countries signed a general cooperation agreement, signed a memorandum of understanding on political and diplomatic consultations, and agreed on a visa exemption agreement for holders of diplomatic and service passports to facilitate closer cooperation and encourage investment and people-to-people exchange. Speaking after the signing ceremony, President Barrow described the agreement as a significant milestone that reflects the shared vision of both countries to strengthen cooperation and improve the lives of their citizens.
Today, Gabon stands proudly on the continent as a reputable sovereign nation and rightfully claiming its hope, its peace, its promise of development for its people. The journey you have embarked upon is quite familiar to us. The Gambia too has journeyed successfully from a difficult past. It is this shared experience and the common understanding of what it costs and what it really means to rebuild a nation that gives our two nations firm ground on which to stand together.
In his remarks, President Brice Oligui Nguema praised the warm relationship between the two countries and said the agreements laid the foundation for a stronger and more productive partnership.
Je profite de cette visite officielle
I would like to seize the opportunity of this state visit
pour partager l'expérience gabonaise
to share
en matière de processus
the
électoral.
Gabonese experience in terms of transparent and inclusive elections.
D'approfondir les relations bilatérales
in a bid to strengthen the bilateral relations between our two states.
During his state visit, President Oligui Nguema toured several key national institutions and development projects, including the University of the Gambia's Faraba campus and National Emergency Treatment Center in Farato, and other strategic facilities, highlighting opportunities for future cooperation in education, healthcare, and infrastructure. For WADR, Rose Samara Capes, Banjul.
Here in Senegal, authorities have intercepted 173 people attempting to migrate irregularly to Europe during 2 operations in the central Kaolack region. The National Gendarmerie said the operations carried out between July 31st and August 2nd during the Grand Margal weekend led to the arrest of migrants who were allegedly preparing to board a clandestine boat to Europe. Those intercepted included 116 men, 15 women, and 6 children from Senegal, Mali, the Gambia, and Guinea. Security forces also seized an 18-meter wooden boat, 2 outboard engines, and nearly 4,800 liters of fuel believed to have been intended for the journey. Authorities have urged the public to report suspected human smuggling activities through the Gendarmerie's emergency hotlines.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Ghanaian President John Dramani Mahama has arrived in Kingston, Jamaica for a 4-day state visit. Mahama's trip, the first to the island nation since becoming president last year, seeks to strengthen the long-standing relationship between Ghana and Jamaica, deepen Africa-Caribbean cooperation, and advance the global reparations agenda. Christopher Aticho has more details in this report.
Ghanaian President John Dramani Mahama is on a 4-day official visit to Jamaica aimed at deepening diplomatic, cultural and economic relations between the two countries, while strengthening Ghana's engagement with the Caribbean community, CARICOM. During the visit, President Mahama will take part in a high-level reparations dialogue at the University of West Indies and hold talks with Jamaican leaders on expanding trade, investment, cultural exchange, and South-South cooperation. He is also expected to address a joint sitting of Jamaica's Parliament, where he will outline a shared vision for closer Africa-Caribbean partnership. As part of the trip, the Ghanaian leader will pay tribute to Jamaica's national hero, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and visit Ghanaian village houses at Savo Village Park, sites that reflect the deep historical and ancestral ties linking Ghana and Jamaica.
Now, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has stepped in to support Ghana's flood response, approving an emergency grant of $250,000 for victims of the recent disaster. Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa announced the donation, describing it as a strong gesture of regional solidarity. The funding is expected to strengthen ongoing humanitarian operations, providing much-needed relief to thousands of people affected by the devastating floods. WDR's correspondent Nadide Tete reports from Accra.
Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa says the ministry has officially been informed of the regional bloc's decision to provide the support. In a statement posted on social media, Mr. Ablakwa said the funds, equivalent to about 3 million Ghana cedis, will be transferred to the appropriate authorities as soon as they are received by the Foreign Ministry. He expressed Ghana's gratitude to ECOWAS, describing the donation as a demonstration of regional solidarity and African compassion. The contribution comes after weeks of severe flooding in parts of Ghana that claimed lives, displaced hundreds of residents, damaged homes and infrastructure, and left many families in urgent need of humanitarian assistance. Authorities say the ECOWAS donation will complement ongoing relief operations as government agencies and humanitarian organizations continue to provide emergency support to affected communities. For WDR, Nadide Tete, Accra.
The federal government of Nigeria has approved the extension of the Forest Guard initiative from 7 to 10 states, with the number of forest rangers set to rise to as many as 9,000. Launched by President Bola Tinubu in May this year, the program initially targeted the recruitment of between 2,000 and 5,000 forest guards to secure vulnerable forest corridors. With hundreds of recruits already trained, the presidency says the expanded force will help reclaim remote areas used as hideouts by kidnappers, bandits, and other armed criminal groups across the country. WDR's Usman Umar tells us more.
The expansion, announced last Friday, follows the graduation of more than 7,000 forest guards in Borno, Sokoto, Yobe, Adamawa, Niger, Kwara, and Kebbi states under the program's first phase. The latest rollout covers Kaduna, Edo, and Kogi states, where more than 2,000 newly trained personnel will be deployed to security hotspots to prevent criminal groups from using poorly monitored forests as hideouts, transit routes, and bases for holding kidnapped victims. Many of the recruits were drawn from local communities because of their familiarity with forests, footpaths, waterways, and remote settlements. Before deployment, they underwent rigorous security vetting, background checks, and specialized training in weapons handling, navigation, patrol tactics, intelligence gathering, and forest protection. Security officials say the recruits' local knowledge will strengthen surveillance, improve intelligence gathering, and enhance operations in difficult terrain. First proposed in February 2024 and officially launched by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in May 2025, the Presidential Forest Guards Initiative is part of Nigeria's broader strategy to combat terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping. According to the Office of the National Security Advisor, the initiative is coordinated by the Office of the National Security Advisor and led operationally by the Department of State Services with support from the Defense Headquarters, the Nigeria Police Force, and the National Park Service. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Now we head to Liberia, where the Coalition of Human Rights Defenders is calling for the immediate reconstitution of the Independent National Commission on Human Rights. They are warning that alleged political interference is undermining the institution's independence and credibility. The coalition says the continued tenure of commissioners whose mandates have expired and the unlawful appointment of an acting chairperson violates the INCHR Act of 2005 and threatens the Commission's independence. A correspondent in Monrovia, Abraham Parker, has more.
The Coalition of Liberian Human Rights Defenders is accusing the government of interfering in the affairs of the Independent National Commission on Human Rights, warning that any attempt by the executive or other state actors to influence the commission threatens democratic governance and undermines public confidence in the country's leading human rights institution. The group's chairperson, Neodoti Tobo, said the statutory tenure of all commissioners except the chairperson expired on July 31, 2026.
Our position is that all the 6 commissioners should leave on the same date, and the Chief Justice of Liberia should proceed to appoint the civil society to do a vetting for the 6 commissioners.
The group also challenged the appointment of the commission's acting chairperson, alleging that he was neither properly vetted nor nominated to do the legal process required by law.
His appointment as a commissioner was fraudulent and did not meet required legal standards. The Assets Recovery Team should move to recover every penny and benefit received by Mr. Famula and return seen to the Liberian people.
The rights advocates warned that continuing to political interference could damage public trust in the commission and undermine Liberia's credibility before regional and international human rights bodies, including the Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institutions. The statement follows President Joseph Boaka's action in June to suspend INCHR chairperson, Councillor Dempster Brown, without pay, pending a Ministry of Justice investigation into allegations of forgery, failure to convene commission meetings, and the unlawful withholding of a fellow commissioner's salaries. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. We're also live on YouTube and Facebook. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Mali's former Prime Minister Mara calls for national unity in his first public message since his release from prison on Saturday. Authorities in Senegal intercept over 170 irregular migrants. Gambia and Gabon sign multilateral agreement as President Ngoma wraps his state visit. ECOWAS releases over $200,000 to support victims of recent flooding in Ghana. Still ahead in the news, we have the guest interview and the sports news. Please stay with us.
Connecting Ghana to West Africa. This is Nadidi Tete in Accra, and you're listening to WADR 94.9 FM, Dakar.
Thank you for staying with us. In Côte d'Ivoire, the government has raised fuel pump prices effective this month, a move that is already sparking political debate and public concern over the rising cost of living. Authorities say the increase reflects higher global oil prices and insist the state has spent hundreds of billions of CFA francs on fuel subsidies to shield consumers from the full impact. But opposition parties have dismissed the justification, warning that the latest price hike will drive up transport costs, food prices, and other essential goods, placing an even heavier burden on households. Abdullah Hassan has more in this report.
Motorists in Côte d'Ivoire are facing higher fuel prices following a government-approved increase that took effect on August 1. Under the new pricing, petrol now sells for 905 CFA francs per litre, up from 875 CFA francs, while diesel has increased from 700 to 725 CFA francs per litre. The government says the adjustment is a response to rising global oil prices, citing the war in Ukraine and ongoing geopolitical tensions in the Middle East as key drivers. Officials say fuel prices had remained unchanged until the end of April 2026, with only a minor adjustment introduced in May. They also note that the government has spent nearly 200 billion CFA francs to cushion consumers from soaring international fuel prices and help preserve household purchasing power. But the opposition PPACI, led by former President Laurent Gbagbo, has criticized the increase, warning that it will deepen the country's cost of living challenges. The party argues that higher fuel prices will trigger increases in transport fares, production costs, and the prices of essential goods. It is therefore calling for the immediate reversal of the price hike and urging the government to open a national dialogue on fuel pricing, including the introduction of a fuel price stabilization mechanism.
There was a report by our correspondent Marcel Arisson-Blay and presented by Abdullah Hassan. Burkina Faso has launched an electronic traffic enforcement system designed to improve road safety through the use of surveillance cameras installed in major cities across the country. The pilot phase began on Saturday, August 1st in the capital, Ouagadougou, where authorities recorded more than 1,000 traffic violations the first 24 hours of the operation. Francis Boniface has more in this report filed by our correspondent Martin Kaba.
Burkina Faso has officially launched a video traffic enforcement system aimed at improving road safety and cracking down on traffic violations. Using surveillance cameras installed across the capital, Ouagadougou, the new technology automatically detects and records traffic offenses. According to the Burkinabe Minister of Security, Mahamadou Sana, more than 1,000 violations were recorded within just 12 hours of the system becoming operational.
From midnight to noon, we have recorded 1,083 offenses, and this covers only 4 types of violence: failure to obey traffic lights, failure to wear a seatbelt, speeding, and the use of a mobile phone while driving. These are the only 4 categories of offenses currently being monitored through the video enforcement system. And this is only a few selected sites for now, because we are working to expand and multiply systems across Ouagadougou.
The initiative, launched on August 1, is currently limited to Ouagadougou, but will be expanded to other cities across the country. Authorities also plan to establish a dedicated traffic enforcement brigade to strengthen compliance with road safety regulations. Official figures show that as of July 26, Burkina Faso had recorded more than 11,000 road accidents since the start of the year, leaving 9,000 people injured and claiming about 650 lives.
That was a report by our correspondent Martin Kaba, voiced by Francis Boniface.
Politics, analyses on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest this evening is Ugochukwu Bamidele, a Nigerian security expert. In this interview, he speaks about the government's expansion of the Presidential Forest Guard program from 7 to 10 states, increasing personnel to as many as 9,000 rangers. Bamidele also weighs in on the capacity of the forest guards and questions the authorities' approach to addressing insecurity in Nigeria.
There is the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. There is the Nigerian Army. There is the Nigerian Police. There is the Nigerian Navy. There is the Nigerian Air Force. There is the Department of State Services. There is the Nigerian Intelligence Agency. There is a plethora of intelligence and security forces combined. For any country that is serious to end insecurity, we can if we want to. Our problem is that we do not have a system that is willing to bring justice. Until we have a system that is willing to bring justice, we cannot continue to slap powder on a saw. It covers it temporarily, but when the saw begins to soil, the powder is dissolved, it is exposed again. So yes, lofty idea to have floated the Presidential Forest Guard, 9,000 strong men, I agree. Will these men be allowed to work? When somebody is caught, will that person face the music? If a bandit is caught and the person mentioned a political affiliate, will that person be made to face music? Will there be investigation into that person? Because again, there is nowhere in the world where insecurity can get to the extent it has gotten to without people behind it who are funding the bandits. Who are those money bags funding the terrorists?
Are you saying in a form that this strategy by the government does not enhance the Nigerian government's security fight and other violence in the country?
I'm saying simply, if we do not put sincerity of purpose in front of whatever is happening, it will be same old story.
The government has already approved this and it should be implemented. What would you say in the interest of especially citizens in rural parts of the country where these forest guards will be deployed?
First off, let us hope that they've gotten the right kind of training. That's number one. The right kind of training to deal with the peculiarity of the issues that we're dealing with at the moment in terms of insecurity. That's number one. Number two, because it's one thing to be trained, it's another thing to have equipment. Let them be properly equipped in terms of gears and weapons. Number three, let there be collaboration and let there be sincerity of purpose. Let credit be given to whom credit is due. If the forest guards are able to arrest one person and hand over to security agencies, let the security agencies not claim credit for it and say, we were the ones that did it. Give these people their credit. There is something that appreciation does. It improves morale. Number four, terrorist financiers, both the one that the UAE published, the one that, America has talked about. Is it not time to encourage these people to know that there's nobody to be afraid of? Mention the names of these people, make them public, let them face justice. Let them have their day in court and defend how their names appeared on that list. What exactly did they do that put their names on that list?
That was Ugochukwu Bamidele, a Nigerian security expert. In sports, defending champions Nigeria bounced back at the Total Energies CAF Women's Africa Cup of Nations with a hard-fought 1-0 victory over Zambia in Rabat. Asiat Oshola scored the only goal in the 8th minute as the Super Falcons recovered from their opening defeat to Malawi. Nigeria played much of the match with 10 players after Oluwatosin Dehihin was sent off before the halftime, but held firm against sustained Zambian pressure. The win keeps Nigeria's quarterfinals hope alive in Group C after Malawi defeated Egypt 3-1 earlier in the day. Cameroon claimed the second straight victory at the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations, defeating Ghana 1-0 in Casablanca. Maringa scored the only goal from the penalty spot in the 19th minute, giving the indomitable Lionesses maximum points after their opening win over Mali. The result boosts Cameroon's chances of reaching the quarterfinals, while Ghana must beat Mali in the final Group D match to keep their qualification hopes alive. And that's all for this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Ismaila Kamara and Maudoju for the technical assistance. To interact with us via our social media platforms, X, Instagram, and Facebook at WADR English. I am Veronica Njai. Good evening.
We thank you for listening to Newslink in Nigeria on Love FM Abuja and Darling FM Owerri. In the Gambia on Hot FM Banjul, Hilltop FM and Veritas Radio in Serekunda. Thank you for listening on Alternative Youth Radio Lofa County, Liberia, Radio Kegaman in Nimba County, and DCN Radio Riverses County. A big thank you to Radio Graft FM in Sierra Leone for listening, and in Ghana we thank Radio Pad in Damango and Royals FM in Wenchi. Thank you all for listening to Newslink.